So guys, welcome again in Artificial Intelligence and Customer Operations Automation podcast. For the returning users, welcome back again. For the new guys, I would love to introduce that this is a podcast when I believe that the modern C-level executives and leadership cannot ignore artificial intelligence and leverage artificial intelligence for unlocking their people potential and helping customer to get better recommendation, better products. Today, I would love to introduce you to a very, very specific guest for my podcast because it's been never here mentioned about artificial intelligence and sustainability. We were always talking about artificial intelligence models, things like that. Today, the topic is very, very compelling and exciting because it's sustainability. And I want to welcome Manuel. He's been in that for a really long time, and I'm not even trying to introduce him. And I would love him to introduce quickly. If you guys stay with us, you will learn a lot about how sustainability is picking up around the world, how it's being standardized across verticals, but also we will be talking how that helps customers on B2B and B2C markets make better decision about their purchasing patterns. So welcome, Manuel. I would love you to introduce yourself, and so make sure that the audience will really, really grasp your expertise, which I believe it's phenomenal.
Well, thank you, Eric. I'm not sure if I can, feel anything else from your great introduction. I'm Manuel Vexler. I'm Executive Director for the Actionable Knowledge Foundational Institute, which is a non-profit focused on bridging the gap between digital transformation, AI, IoT, and sustainability and ESG. So thank you for the introduction to your topics and the fact that I'm going to be the first to talk about sustainability. I hope we have multiple occasions with you and your audience because this is not a topic to be covered in one day. To complete my introduction, I'm also instructor and facilitator at Cornell University on topics related to sustainability, digital transformation, and AI. So the floor is back to Arek.
Yeah. Very important. I want to mention, guys, that Manuel is also like looking from the academic perspective. The reason I really appreciate that is because in artificial intelligence, a lot of that we are using today, a lot of the chat GPTs and other things were really born on the scientific level through scientific papers and things like that. So I'm very excited. We can talk about, we can discuss sustainability with a person that also has an academic background. But Manuel, I remember our first meeting here in Dallas a couple years ago when you were introducing me to the topic, and I was like, wow, what is he really talking about? Like, what is that? Like sustainability, ECG, all these three pillars, things that when I go to meetings were like really beyond the conference rooms and artificial intelligence. But meanwhile, it changed. But I believe some of the audience can be on the same page as I used to be. So if we can start with basics, like really, what is sustainability? Why we should care about that?
Thank you. It's obviously a very broad question. To start with, I'll give you a little bit of history. About 53 years ago, a Nobel Prize economist proposed a dictum about capitalism and economy. And he basically said that the primary reason for an industry or for a company to exist is to serve the shareholders. It was called, or is called, the shareholder primacy. Milton Friedman, the economist, is quoted frequently for directing the U.S. economy for the next 40 plus years in this direction, maximizing profits, fiduciary duties to the shareholders, no mention of stakeholders, no mention of employees, no mention of communities, no mention of the environment, no mention of the suppliers and supply. So this had been, if I may say so, updated, and it's now called the stakeholder capitalism. And it's about having the three pillars that you already mentioned, Arek, which are the people, the planet, and the profit. profit. So uniting the three, creating a balance between the three, because you cannot maximize one at the expense of the other two. It's what the sustainability and the core tenets of the ESG today.
People, planet, and
Profits.
profits. Okay, so let me stop you here, Manuel. Yeah, let me stop you here. And I'm sorry because this is so exciting. I want to drop in like if I understand that properly, and I believe audience would appreciate my question. Apple Computers, the company that a couple of years ago announced we are removing, plugins from the boxes. We use boxes. We use recycled materials for like packing up iPhones, MacBooks Pro, and things like that. Do you want to say that people, planet, profits is something present here, especially planet, like companies doing this? And I know, and you probably tell more about it, that to be able to deliver a recycled packaging for millions of phones required redesigning a whole supply chain and everything. So is that what is actually a down to the earth example of people, planet, profits?
Correct. That's exactly the example where the company is looking from three different perspectives, from three different lenses when they design new products, or in this case, redesigning the package. So they don't just redesign it to be cheaper, for instance, or be profitability. They don't redesign it just to be recyclable, but also to serve the people's needs for the long term, which is cleaner air, cleaner water, less dump fields, recycling exactly the materials, not cutting woods, not cutting trees and forests for packaging.
Okay, perfect. So, keep going then, because I just drop in this example to let people know that we are not talking about theories here. We're talking about something practical that is around us. And then why it's important. I mean, except for the planet, everything understand. People that are after scientists about climate change, they really understand. But what else is important here? Why, except for the planet thing, we should consider sustainability?
So sustainability is also, if you want, a lifestyle. And as we look at the generations, right? One thing which I always argue is, why am I called the consumer and not a human? Because the whole economy, the whole marketing theory, it's about consumers. And I beg to differ. I'm not born to consume. I'm born to exist. I'm a human.
Okay.
And my first. So we see this change in especially the younger generations, which realize that humanity comes before consumers. And I'm definitely not against people having a great lifestyle, having goods, having cars, having homes. But I'm saying that they should be treated as humans. And so this is the addition to these three P's, the planet, the people, and the profit. It has to be a balance. And this is the balance we're talking about. Treat the humans as humans, treat them as consumers as well, but treat them as consumers that are careful with the planet, and of course, making companies work. Capitalism is still the best form of human organizations we have.
Okay, and now I'm dropping a little bit more spice on that AI, which is like extremely like energy consuming beast. Like it takes so much energy that I can barely consider it sustainable. Like if I imagine, and I know that how much computer power you need to, serve all these people needs around the world, just asking ChatGPT, what should I eat for a dinner? And that needs so much energy, so much new CPUs, so much, it's like consuming in the highest speed possible, right? So what's your take on that? Like, are we walking away from sustainability because we love so much AI and because it's quickly give us questions, the answers, doesn't matter right or wrong, but give us these answers. And then how that correlates, like are like Microsoft and Apple as well, like bringing AI, which by once again, it's so much computer power consuming, whatever, it's kind of like contradicting themselves, or it's like completely new challenge that should be, or maybe something else?
Well, the approach is a little bit from the technology axis. So first thing, well, these companies are burning tremendous amounts of electricity electricity. They mentioned
Yeah.
more than states and countries in some cases. I think we are at the beginning of the technology, and usually, and very important, these companies recognize NVIDIA, Microsoft, Azure, AWS, Amazon, Google, they recognize the problem of consumption. So they are starting to build data centers which are much more efficient together. And I think there is a Moore's law somewhere in the fact that in 10 years, we'll probably run our AI on our or even 5 years on our smartphone. So on a very low power, so we are at the beginning of this technology.
Okay.
There is a lot of excitement. I shall point also the technology. It's only available to the most developed society at the moment. So
okay. But
Yes.
let me switch now to a human side. I
Sure.
don't want to use a consumer. I want to use a human. So on the human side, like, do you see a point when we will actually understand sustainability and correct our actions? Let me give you an example. Let's say I want to buy a Nike shoes, and there is AI already embedded into the Nike app that actually helped me to snap a picture of the shoe while I'm seeing that. Let's say somebody's jogging in the park around my house, and I see, hey, wow, you have a cool shoes. Let me pull up the Nike app, snap a picture so I can find them online, right? That's possible. It's possible in Nike app. It's machine learning, image recognition stuff, and things like that. And then I see Nike shoes. I want to buy that. But suddenly I'm asking myself question, it's Nike, a sustainable company. Maybe I should look for a similar design shoes, but coming from more sustainable company. So my question is a human equipped enough well to be able to make that kind of choices, like adding a sustainability criteria to my purchasing decision making process? Is that something you observe? It's possible, like somebody's whispering to my ear saying, hey, don't buy from Nike, but buy from something else, like Adidas, for instance, or don't buy from Adidas, buy from Nike because they are sustainable and you get the same lifestyle shoes, like the same style shoes, but they will be coming from a company that cares about people, planet, and profit. Do you see that coming?
Well, it's not only I see it coming, but the European Union regulations are now coming in place. Starting actually next year, they have to report, and there are label requirements. So on the product, there will be label requirements,
like label
Right.
products, like label products, like they label like this is vegan product or dairy-free product.
Exactly, like you have on the food requirements, you have sugar content 3% of daily. So they will have the origin. They will have different certifications. For instance, the same marks you see now. Let's say with garbage collection, for instance, there will be a special mark for electronic goods that can be recyclable. I think it's WWW, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
And or something like that, maybe WE. So there will be label requirements, and as it happens, these actually become global. You see that happening with foods and so on. You see with recyclable. You see this little signs on the product. So this it's much closer to reality than see. And people do consumers, human, but consumers decisions. They will decide they want to be a little bit more sustainable. They prefer products that are helping the environment. They'll remember when they walk in the woods that the trees are still there and they didn't become product on the shelf. Some
I can imagine that's something beautiful, because labeling, it's if you can put a label or something, I know from artificial intelligence, like supervised and unsupervised algorithms, that if you can label something, that means high level of standardization, because it's standardized. If it's standardized, the process of digesting that data is always cheaper, because unstructured is always more expensive than structured. So I really like that example. But are you trying to say that I can go into the store and now, like, this is my my family example, right? One of my significant others is like lactose intolerant. So when I go to a store in Europe, I can see like a separate shelf for vegan products. I can just like blindly buy the product without even checking ingredients. I'm sure there is no dairy in it. In different stuff, the places, Mexico, it's always like a lot of lactose-free products, very well labeled in stores. I found. You are saying that the same we can expect in sustainability. So, do you think that it's going to increase like loyalty? So, for instance, this artificial intelligence can recommend me a product online, like even on Amazon, which is sustainable. Because if you have a label, I can filter out those products. I can have that product easier recommended to me because they labeled already. So, what's the problem to filter them out from the list of other products, right? Do you see that bringing more profits for companies? That's my first question.
Well, I'll answer first the question of who should make the choice. I think the consumer at the end will make the choice, not the distributor, not Amazon or supermarket. As you said, you can have side by side products with different labels, right? Lactose free, lactose, 2% milk, whatever. So that's the first part of the answer. The answer on the profitability, this is where actually the executives, the companies, have to perform this equilibrium, right? This choice. As they select their sustainability programs, they should look and keep the profitability in check. In other words, I don't think it will make the product more commercially more desirable, more appealing, but it doesn't necessarily make it more or less profitable. And what I'm saying is, it depends really on in your example, Nike, if it uses very expensive recyclable packaging process, it will be less profitable.
Okay.
The company will have the duty to keep it in check, right?
I'm thinking about the example that I don't know if it's still relevant, but I remember a couple years ago, maybe 2, 3 years ago, probably it's changed. When I was pulling up Uber app here in Dallas, and I was about to get an Uber, and there was like an option to get the electric car as your Uber ride, and it was like 15% more expensive than the regular gasoline-powered engine, which made me laugh because if we want to switch to something pro-planet, I mean, and it's going to be more expensive for people, I would believe the adoption rate will be extremely low because some people will pay more because they understand that the pro-planet approach requires effort, and one of the part of the effort is paying more for that. And I think I am aware of the fact, and I would order the more expensive Uber because I understand that in this particular case, I'm supporting something bigger than a ride. But honestly saying, I think most people will just forget about like, oh, has more expensive option. I want to go with the cheapest one and I don't really care. So do you see sustainability to reflect the product as more expensive one? Or maybe it will be something different, like Apple example. I still pay the same for a phone, but it's missing a power plug, which means like it's still okay for me because I have so many power plugs at home that I don't even need to buy the new one, which makes sense. But again, it's like somebody took something out of me to make the process sustainable. So what's your comment on this one?
It's a very complex situation. The first thing, what is the role of marketing in a company is to maximize profitability, and marketing is part of the group that sets the price of not the cost, the price of the product. So we talked about pricing to market. Your Uber is priced to market because there are not too many electric cars in Uber, so they can charge more.
Oh yeah. So algorithm make a mess here.
Exactly. And they do not need actually yet a mass market. If 80% of their fleet will be electrical, you'll see there'll be 15% or 20% less expensive, cheaper. So we're talking, I think, about the marketing. So usually you price at the maximum profit if you can get it, and then as the product becomes more and more mass market, it will drop to a more reasonable profit. Right? In the case of Apple, we're talking also about product that has a code around it. So they know that if they can take, the headsets and ask you to pay $200 for a headset or something like that, they have this experience, but you pay for the marketing.
Yeah.
Actually, the marketing department does a great job by being able to give the consumer. I do not relate this directly to sustainability because sustainability became and will continue to be a criteria for larger and larger mass market consumers making their decision. The companies are very careful, and you mentioned AI. They can collect a lot of data about consumers' preferences. By the time you finish running your credit card, right, the company already has the information that you bought, I don't know, a new iPhone.
Sure. So, Manuel, let me ask you this question right now. How do you see AI, artificial intelligence, contributing to the whole thing, like sustainability? What AI can change here? I have one example, guys. I wanna share with Manuel in a minute. But first, the question is how AI can contribute to that from your perspective, Manuel.
So AI, it's analytics, part of the digital transformation. It's a very powerful analytical engine.
Okay.
Companies, especially Industry 4.0 companies, modern companies, are running on data as much as they run on electricity, on water, on human power. They need data. They need real-time data. They need processing of large amounts of data. Consumer feedback will be pricing. So AI has a huge role in when you look at it as a powerful analytical engine for it. It can also power bots. It can simplify the activity on the shop floor, digital twins, better quality control, video recognition. So AI, it's part of this industry 4.0. It's not a separate force, in my opinion. It's an integral force. As computers were an integral part of industry 3.0, as electricity was an integral part of industry 2.0.
I got an example that I think it contributes directly to sustainability, people, planet, at least. Now I want to share that with you and learn your comments. So it's predictive maintenance. From a customer operation perspective, when you have a car, you need to maintain that car. And the maintenance of the car used to be set up by the factory when they built the car, and it's printed in your manual, but doesn't really consider the way you're driving. You might be driving like very aggressively, sports style driving, or you might be like driving like very family safe way. Doesn't really matter. As long as you do a specific mileage or the specific time passed, you have to show up in the maintenance station, and they will do everything around your car what is expected by a factory without even considering your style of driving, right? Which is completely wipe out the personalization out of the equation. But I see algorithms sitting in my car and just like reading a whole bunch of different data points, like how I'm driving, where I'm driving, in what weather conditions I'm driving, what kind of surface I'm driving on, because paved surface is different than the gravel, things like this. And then the customer service can give me a call and say, hey, you don't need to show up after 20,000 miles as your factory specification is saying. You might show up after 30,000 miles because we are reading your way of driving, where you're driving, how you're driving, and we don't see a point of exchanging on oil in your engine because that doesn't really make sense. There is no way you could just like make that oil not lubricant enough because the algorithm says us keep going. So instead of like consuming that oil and just putting an oil in the situation in an engine when you don't have to really do that, you can still make 10,000 miles. That's good for planet. That's good for the company, and because they treat you. Obviously, you might pay for the subscription service as we pay for software as a service. Everybody knows how it works, and I am as a customer very satisfied because I understand how they personalize my service. And at the same time, when I'm a sport driving guy and they call me and say, hey, you cannot show up in 10,000 miles, just come now. And that gets me thinking, oh, wait, the way I'm driving, it's expensive. So maybe I should change my driving lifestyle because it takes out of money over me. I see that as a direct contribution to planet and people and profit as well. Do you think it's a relevant example of artificial intelligence and sustainability?
Yes, and I would say I'll make it even more general. You have a great example is a car, but I guess a lot of the maintenance, a lot of the they call it smart appliances. A lot of the appliances get connected to the internet.
Oh yeah.
IoT probes provide data, and that can apply to your fridge or your dishwasher and so on, right? Giving you information like you consuming too much detergent, and that's useful. And this is actually a great way for informing the consumer, the person, that they can save money, as you said, right? In the same time, saving the environment, reducing the amount of pollution that just pollute water. So absolutely, your example is a great example, and I think it's from a class of consumer awareness, and that can come in two ways: from the manufacturers, the consumer goods, and the industry producing software to produce this analysis, or from the government, because the government has now labels on your fridge. If you open the door, it will say this fridge has this average consumption and so on, right? So it's a continuation of this process, essentially, I'm saying.
Yeah. And what I see also in all of that, like how AI can contribute, it's a patterns. Like if you read the patterns, we can really approach that patterns results from many different perspectives. You mentioned like home appliances, I mentioned car, but even if I mention my way of my meal and food patterns, like what I'm eating, how I'm eating, that kind of stuff. I have an app on my phone that after a while, when you share what you eat every day, it gives you a recommendation which kind of products are really fitting your diet properly. Like for instance, I've learned recently that if I put enough a number of almonds into my daily intake, my calories stay regulated, which means like my body for some reason takes that very well, which also give me an important information about not buying the other stuff. Like don't buy other stuff, buy this stuff. So that's more like personalization patterns that can help us. But let me ask you this questions. Like let's get back to big business companies and that you observe as a consultant, also an academic person. What stakeholders, like shareholders, stakeholders, what they need to do to make it happen? Like from your perspective, what should be done so that is possible on our side? You mentioned European Union, but just this is the regulations. They put the regulations. I guess most companies hate them, but everybody needs to adjust, and that's the standards being born. So that's one thing. Stakeholders, shareholders need to align with the regulations. But what else they need to do or they should do to make sustainability happen?
Well, so sustainability, I would say it's happening. It's happening in different ways in different corners of the society. So there are generational differences. People consume less. That should worry actual economists, which are always saying the GDP has to grow 3, 5, 10%. Not quite.
Yeah. And you cannot make it happen if we eat less.
Right, exactly. And then, then there is a whole pharmaceutical industry which tries to, give you pills to get slimmer back instead of eating less, which is more sustainable.
So eat more, but take that pill so it looks like you eat less.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
what I'm trying to say. Okay.
So all these economic circuits will have to change. But again, we are in a society that we call it the stakeholder capitalism, and different stakeholders have different requirements for the company. So employees have different requirements than consumers. And at the end, my simple economic model is who pays at the end is the consumer, the human. Regardless how many B2B to B to B to C we have, at the end there is a C at the end. And there's conditions, and this is where societies will adapt. Through regulations is one part, through internal international standards. Net zero, it's very common now. You go to Nike or Amazon or Microsoft, they all have net zero targets, and also they put pressure on the supply chain. It's not a quick process. It's like changing from a generation to another, but we have the generation in place. The younger generation, they grow up with conscious knowledge about the planet. They learn it. They learn it their peers. They care about saving water, saving the environment, not polluting, not creating a lot of garbage. By the way, your example, you had a sorry, just quickly finishing. There are intelligent garbage cans now, which says, don't buy so many nuts, so many almonds, because it's throwing half of them away.
Yes. And let me interrupt you here because I have a great two examples. One is my customer, IKEA. I was in a project 8 years ago, and I remember they were testing. By the way, those products were manufactured by the really small company. They were testing in IKEA, it's a big box, blue box company with the kitchen inside. So when you go shopping, you can stop by in this like bar and have lunch, coffee, whatever, and then you can keep shopping. So it used to be in it's still, I guess, in some countries, it's like family trip. You go there, you look at stuff, you have a lounge, you look at stuff, you go back home, you spend there like 5 hours, whatever. I believe they had even like rooms for breastfeeding for moms and that kind of stuff. But I know that they were testing something like this. Whenever the food is wasted, like the customers of IKEA, they didn't consume everything. They just throw it to the garbage cans, but those garbage cans are intelligent and they have a scale and everything inside. So they measure how much food was wasted. It was automatically separated, and they either giving to like companies that they can process that as a dry food for dogs. Obviously not everything that was separated, because I know dog lovers would say, I don't want my dog to eat crap. No, it's not crap. It's like separated, like veggies from meat from vegan from dairy, that kind of things. But also you reminded me another example. In my house, we have the Brita filters, but I found a beautiful product from Brita, which is like a water bottle, like regular one with the carbon filter inside, which you change once. So you can pour every water from a tap around the world. You cannot take a river water, but they do have also river waters filters, but you can do a tap filter. So we completely reduce plastic. We don't buy plastic bottles, like big, small, medium, don't do that. And I consider the Brita doing a lot for the environment, but at the same time making a good profit, because you have to buy the filters, you have to buy the water bottle. So you buy it, you pay for it, but then you can use the tap water, and then it's being filtered. So it's kind of looks to me like something that support that kind of trend.
And you're touching on something that links AI with IoT, with Industry 4.0, which is innovation. Humans are capable to adapt. We are probably the most adaptable, in some way the most destructive species, but in another way most adaptable, because we can live almost anywhere on the planet. For instance, if you think of the animal kingdom, you don't find same animals. Okay, there is a white polar bear and there is a grizzly bear. You don't find white polar bears in the US, probably in the south part of the US. Yes, in Alaska.
Yes. Manuel, okay,
so
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is the innovation part that I wanted to say that is going to get us more sustainable as the consumer demands, as the economy changes to adapt, because the economy and the companies will change. Is this change easy? No. Is this change costly? Yes, it is. But this is where, and I'm sort of circling back to your original question about AI being extremely electricity intensive, computing intensive. We'll adapt, we'll change, we'll find components that don't require 200 watts or whatever NVIDIA requires, and requires forced water cooling to keep it operating.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard somewhere, maybe that's not true, but just maybe please consider that as an anecdote, that when you write a long prompt to ChatGPT, one small water bottle is required to cool off that computer that is providing you with the answer. I don't know if that's true, but I can imagine nuts.
I will tell you something, a personal experience really quickly. I am going to Bogota at the end of the month for a couple of days to present to a company, the industry association, which actually deals, between other things, with cooling. And
Oh,
the
wow.
components look, they have pipes around the components to bring the water. And
Yeah,
one of the presenters was saying we are at the limit of the cooling. We cannot cool faster.
produce more.
Right. So we need to change even the cooling systems. So you're absolutely right. It's probably more than I don't know what if it's a water bottle or not, but they have to recycle it.
Crazy.
They have to take the heat out, which is waste. Yeah.
Crazy. It's crazy. Manuel, since we have like 3 more minutes, I always love talking to you as a consultant, a person that works closely with executives and implementing AI. I understand that every starts with a great use case. Like if you don't have a use case, executives doesn't really care. They need to make sure that this use case is doable, ideally bring profits, so the ROI is positive, total cost of ownership is predictive. That's my experience as a consultant. Which companies, which brands are doing this sustainability 3P right? Can you mention any brand, any company, any example?
Mention the poster child, which is Patagonia.
Yes.
Patagonia has it's built around sustainability. That's the reason it's the poster child. A lot of other companies are transforming, and of course they have to transform. Remember, they have to keep this balance between profitability and people and the planet. So they are transforming, and all the S&P 500 companies, especially the Magnificent Seven, are on board this transformation towards sustainability. But don't ask an elephant to learn dancing in one night, right?
I know. I mean, I'm trying. What you said, it's to me, it's a progress. Like everybody's in
It
progress
is.
mode, which is good because they will get there eventually. Those companies can have power and everything. I've been working and I'm working with big global companies, and I know they have a lot of power. Everybody understand they more looks like a huge cargo ships that small motorboats. They cannot take turns quickly, but they are unstoppable. So are you trying to say it's in progress? Patagonia, great example. That was my last question. Actually, that's the last one now. How people can find you? I know AKFI is your main thing, except for Cornell. But what else? Like where people can find you? There is somebody asking me, hey, I want to get in touch with Manuel because I'm so interested in this topic. So where they can find you? How to contact you, Manuel?
You are also present. I'm present on LinkedIn. It's the easiest way. My name is the extension Manuel Vexler. You'll find me on LinkedIn. We are on YouTube, including you. Thank you very much for a previous interview under the actionable ESG.
Thank you.
So we are there present. It is easy to find us. Please do it. And, we offer our time and knowledge to whoever asks questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you for staying with us. This is Artificial Intelligence Customer Operations podcast. We here believe that AI should be in every company, obviously supporting your strategic goals. Today, we're talking about how it can support sustainability, world, people, planet, profits. Manuel, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for doing this with us. And guys, keep coming. And by the way, if you like this podcast, you know what to do. If you see a space for improvement, drop us a message, and we will consider that very seriously. Thank you so much, Manuel. Have a great day, and I appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure as usual. Thanks.
Take care.